Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. Nearing the end of the initial runs through Calamity Conquest, we are now going to take on the 5th stage versus the Sky Dragon. Yeah, Sky Dragon, I believe. So the missions are still the same: 4 physical, 4 magic, 1 free-to-play character. Shouldn't be that bad. Sky Dragon itself, 8 million HP, okay attack, pretty high defense, almost 17,000. Weak to physical, can't stun, poisons, nerfs oranges, lowers your attack, guard rate, defense, more poison, nerfs blues. Okay. So they really want you to use a green team here. Although the blue nerf is not nearly as long as the orange nerf. 7 turns versus 3 turns. Wind resistance and own wind attack, and then has a heal and a chance to stun everybody for 2 turns. Okay. I mean, space is something that we are not lacking on as terms of usable characters. Especially, well, I mean, there are a lot of green teams that you could put space characters on. Whether or not they're going to do 8 million damage is a different story, but we do have a few that can do 8 million. So let's go ahead and get started with the anniversary teams. One that's okay to use and one that's not very fun to use. Alright, Divine General, green focused. It's 2 very strong single target space DPS characters, and we know how this team runs. If you don't have some of the characters here, like the hero, that's fine. You don't have to bring her. You could bring another Divine General character, just in general. Free-to-play Yome from Vengeance, Orb Changer. He can be useful. You could bring the old hero. You can do, I think, anything to the stage. You can crit, pierce, or synergy, so the type of buffs that you want to run are up for your interpretation. That's a fairly good hand right there, so let's go ahead and orb change and green buff, okay? And then we'll bring in Blanc for the hero, and we'll bring in Raphael for Gazel, actually. We'll use a stack of Raphael, and then this team just takes literally forever to run. I don't think we're going to need to go to, turn 8 and do super massive whale strats with the rewind and resetting and all that. Because I think if we can get just 2 solid alts for Raphael and Blanc, the power of those 2 combined will be good. Okay, that's not a great hand. We're just going to burn this off then. Let's do the alt swap because it will help us do a little bit extra damage now that we are type advantage. And maybe next turn we can get some good green orbs here. I think we're going to be poisoned. No. Yeah, the attack lower, that's what I meant. We're already poisoned. Nah, still not a big deal. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's green buff now. We'll make Diablo a little bit expensive, but it's fine. And then we'll bring Gazel in. And then orb change, boom. We'll reset everybody. And then we'll orb change again and do some stacks of the other characters. So boom, boom, boom. These are 47 points. We can use another stack of Raphael. And technically Blanc. So why not? Anything helps. I don't want to be here for 8 turns. You don't want to be here for 8 turns. That's a fact. We can get away with probably, depending on how much ult we get, probably like turn 5 or 6. And we should still be okay. As long as we have the points to mostly nuke. We could probably miss the Pierce buff and still be fine. Okay, that's a great hand. Getting extra ult gauge. The hero with the rewind. We're not even going to use the rewind here. We're just going to bring you in. Diablo. And let's go ahead and reset here, and Gazel can be the slightly expensive one this time. But green buff, boom, boom. Alt swap away. I mean, we're gonna get the EX alts probably for Blanc and Raphael after this turn, because we only have their orbs, which is great. One of the biggest run killers of this team is getting an ult for Gazel. Because you can't swap it, there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't give you any extra weakness strike, unlike the hero ult or Diablo ult. So it is just a waste of space. Okay, could we Could we get away with nuking on turn 5? Do we have enough points for that? No, we don't have enough points for that. But we are going to get the EX ults for both of them, which is 2 guaranteed green orbs on the plus side. Okay, yep. More poison. Attack is still lowered. I think it's going to go away next turn. Nope, we still have another turn of that. Okay. So let's reset. And now that we've got Blanc's EX ult, she doesn't really need to be up front anymore. The attack nerf really isn't going to make too much of a difference. So let's alt swap away, and then we'll bring Diablo in. And then we can use his multi-skill. Yeah, so orb change, multi-skill. Boom, boom, one more orb change. I think we can nuke on turn 6. I think we can. So let's use the space and dark attack buff because we have it, and then we'll just bring the hero in and we'll send her all, and that'll help us do more damage as well. So let's do one more stack here, and then we'll send Raphael away to the back so we can hold on to that dark and space buff, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then next turn we should have enough points to do the other 3, like, okay, maybe not 3, but what would we do here? We would probably do the synergy and the pierce buff, because we're already getting a decent amount of alt damage from Raphael stacks. Don't need to worry about that. Okay, so as soon as this kicks in, plus, okay, now we're in the attribute unbound status. So pierce buff, boom. And then we'll take you out for the hero, and you out for Gazel. And then a full hand right there. We have just enough points to use the synergy buff. Cool, and then I think we're going to be fine. We can use Elmesia just to get a little bit extra attack here. But this is going to be the end of the run. There's no way this Sky Dragon probably even survives with 1 alt. We'll do the Raphael alt, because I don't see that one very often. We've watched the Blanc ult a couple times now. Don't need that. 472k, but there's extra weakness strike now. And then the Raph alt calling in a giant god. Are you going to do... what? So he has 8 million HP at full. Would you one-shot here on turn 6 without the extra Blanc ult? Sure does. Yeah, definitely don't need to do any of the super tryhard rewind and turn 8 stacking. And we had 2 of those lined up. And my Blanc is 120, which means she's even stronger than that. So, cool. There's a stacking green team with space characters. Let's move on. Alright, so I know I said we'd use the Visions of Cole's Anniversary team because I said we'd use 2 of them, but instead, in order to get the physical mission done, let's use the Primal Demon team instead. So, full team of physical, the free-to-play character, Misery, so we've got that mission covered as well. Gazel covered the free-to-play mission on the last team, and everyone was magic, so this should work. It's just that the blues are not going to be nearly as helpful, and if you wanted to, you could probably take off Guy, and you could bring Coleus Rimuru or New Year's Rimuru to get the rainbow orbs to really jumpstart you. I don't remember from the last round where the blue nerf actually happened. It could be a little bit earlier, it could be a little bit later, I don't remember. That's not a great hand, but we can run with it. So let's bring Blanc in, and then let's bring in Jean for all the turn 2 protection gauge stuff. Oh, let's use our free stacks of Blanc as well. Pierce power, attack, and alt damage will make her hit harder and harder, and she can easily do the 8 million damage as well. Alright, there's the poison. I mean, technically, we don't have enough points for it, actually. Yeah, we don't have enough points for it. Okay, let's reset for a better hand. Alright, much better start. We can actually use Guy's Orb Change turn 1, get a full hand. That makes things just so much easier. Let's bring Blanc in for Diablo since she has an orb incoming as well, and then we'll take out Misery again, use the 2 free stacks. And now we're off to, I think, a much better start. We're not going to have enough points, I don't think, to actually use 2 orb changes next turn, but at least we can get 2 stacks out of Violet more than anything else, and we can just maybe burn off turn 2 if we need to. Or we don't. Okay, great. This is a good run, then. Cool, we can just use Diablo to orb change this, and then, yeah, get the double stack in. So, I think, actually, we might as well put it on all 3 of these characters, because all 3 of them are single targets, and Diablo, while being space, is an AoE, and we don't really need that here. We need our Blanc to do more damage, and, of course, if your team isn't quite as geared up or something, and you need a bit of extra damage, then you could just simply use one of the other 2 characters and get the damage out of that. It's important to always use the first stack of Blanc more than the second skill because it's doing 2 things, ult damage and pierce power, while the second one is buffing your ult gauge increase and her attack, which are... Attack is like the lowest form of buff that you can put on her on this team. The pierce and the ult damage is going to be much more impactful. And then the ult gauge, while it's cool and everything, you definitely don't need it, right? You don't need. So 152 points. We can convert this technically. Let's keep... We only have to convert 1 right there. Let's do Guy, and then we'll use Misery's convert. So this is turn 4, so yeah. Blanc, unfortunately, no orbs. So you know what? We're going to stack on her. Actually, no, we want to leave her in because of the protection gauge. Okay, well, hopefully she gets more points next turn. Or more orbs. But if we can get some Jean orbs, that'll just be helpful DPS, right? Double stack, 250 points right here. Again, if you wanted to bring a Rainbow Converter, ODL Milim, I mean, wouldn't really work that well here because we don't have any Octagram Demon Lord units except Guy here. But you could still get away with it. So let's do Diablo's convert. Jean can get out of here again for Misery. Use her convert, and then some stacks. We'll stack with Violet twice, and that will give us the multi-skill gimmick, and then we could use, I think, 1 more stack of Blanc's main buff? Yeah. And also, to go alongside why her second skill is not as important to stack, is because we're already getting attack stacks from Violet. Stacking up again with Blanc's other skill is, I mean, it's cool, but it's doubling up on something we're already getting, whereas we're not getting pierce power from anywhere else on this team. And ult damage we can get from Guy now that we have Guy, but if you don't have Guy, this team wouldn't have an ult buffer, just in general. Okay, Diablo needs to convert, and then I actually don't want to use the Misery convert right now, so we're going to get him out of here because we have a blue orb incoming, and then we'll just use the Misery convert instead. So boom, boom, another stack. Blanc is getting orbs, that's great. We haven't hit the nerf yet. I'm pretty sure that's going to come up next turn, though, and it'll be nerfed for turns 6, 7, and 8. Oh no, it's already nerfed. Okay, so that... Okay. So it's actually going to leave on turn 7, then. Well, it's not terrible. I mean, we're not getting back a lot, right? 255 points, not as much protection gauge, definitely not as much ult gauge, but it's still something available to us. And as long as we can get at least all of our buffs, I'm fairly certain Blanc can still do 8 million damage, even with, especially if we don't have to convert with anybody next turn. Perfect. Okay. The attack buff is leaving, we'll alt swap, we'll use this, we'll use that, and then that'll be the only skills we can use. Jean in the back is going to be able to reset Blanc back down to 0 and give us 300 skill points so we can make use of the multi-skill and just get a whole butt ton of extra pierce power. So that's why I'm thinking that we don't need the EX ult per se, it would just be extra insurance at that point. But this upcoming turn 7 should be the last turn we are nerfed on the blues. Now we're in the unbound status because Blanc she did get that upgrade. A couple months ago? Last month? Oh, she's almost dead from poison though. I was not paying attention to that. Okay, well, you're gonna leave then. Okay. So let's not use that. We don't have enough points for this. You know what? We're just gonna make do. So you get out of here. We'll do this. We'll alt swap, orb change, orb change. Boom. Pierce resistance down will help Blanc when she's ready to nuke. Oh, we forgot to stack. Oh well, not a big deal. But blues should now be unnerfed? Yeah, they're not nerfed anymore. That's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And, I mean, technically we have an AoE attack from Diablo that's going to be type advantage and going to get all of the buffs. I just hope Misery gets an orb here. Okay, well, she has an ult, so we'll make work with that. Okay, so Blanc can come in for Misery. We'll just swap the ult. We'll use the Guy buff here, give everyone the guaranteed crit and the 80% ult damage, and then we'll take him out for Jean. And then we'll use the element down, the physical buff. Yep, physical buff. That's also the Pierce buff. And then we'll use the extra 300 skill points. So we're going to have 373 after this. And then lower the cost of Blanc's skills. So there's that. Once we use Violet, we'll have access to the multi-skill. And that means we can use a whole butt-ton of Blanc orbs. This was the first team that had the multi-skill technique also, in case you're wondering, in case you're like a newer player. The Divine General Diablo, Masayuki, like those skills didn't exist until we got this Primal Demon team. In this exact same time slot, actually, last year. They were right, Blanc and Jean were the quote-unquote second anniversary, or 2.5 anniversary banner that's going to come out 2 days from now, as of recording this, on April 8th. So they filled that time slot that we would get, but they weren't part of the Exalted Champions meta, which is what people actually cared about. Okay, let's see how this goes. Blanc, I don't see this ult very often. We don't have a lot of use for this Blanc, because she doesn't give a lot of support to any worthwhile support to any other teams, so there's no point in bringing her. She's very much a you support me. 11.6, there we go. So good damage, even with that 3-turn blue orb nerf, it's not a big deal. You can use Visions of Coleus as well, that'll work fine. And Reckoning obviously will cheese the shit out of this. But what other teams did you use to clear this event? Let me know, but that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.